Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, August 20. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has placed 2 more St. Thomas communities under quarantine as the number of COVID-19 cases continues to increase. The quarantine order for both areas, Albion and Seaforth, took effect 5 a.m. this morning and expires on September 2. The Health Ministry says both communities have seen a combined 13 cases over the last 3 weeks, adding that many of the cases are symptomatic, which suggests there may be ongoing transmission in the communities. Surveillance activities will be carried out over the next 2 weeks to detect any new cases early and to implement appropriate measures to contain spread within the parish. The quarantine order for 3 other St. Thomas communities, Bamboo River, Church Corner, and Lower Summit, was recently extended to September 2. Up to news time, 107 persons have tested positive for COVID-19 in the parish, 45 of them within the quarantine areas. In a recent media briefing, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton urged citizens to follow the protocols to protect themselves, their loved ones, and the community.
Observing the critical components of the protocol, wearing the masks, physical distancing of 6 feet, avoiding crowded areas, staying at home if that's what you are told to do if you're under home quarantine, frequently washing and sanitizing hands and cleaning surfaces where droplets may have fallen, and obeying the quarantine and isolation orders as given by the Public Health Authority.
Tax Administration Jamaica, TAJ, is warning persons who should be in quarantine, including those who recently traveled from overseas, not to visit tax offices to conduct business. The tax authority says it has received several reports of such violations and has implemented a measure to address this worrying trend after consultation with the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Ministry of Health. With immediate effect, anyone identified as breaching his or her quarantine will be denied service, required to leave the location, and reported to the authorities for follow-up action. The tax authority is obligated and empowered to report persons suspected of violating their quarantine under the Disaster Risk Management Enforcement Measures No. 11 Amendment Order dated August 5, 2020. Instead of having to visit a tax office, persons are reminded that several services are available online via TAJ's website at jamaicatax.gov.jm. Meanwhile, Tax Administration Jamaica says it continues to enforce health and safety measures at its branches to contain the spread of COVID-19. These include tax office staff working in protective gear, increased cleaning and sterilization of high-traffic surfaces daily, the mandatory wearing of masks, and hand sanitization regimen and temperature checks for both staff and customers at all points of entry throughout TAJ's operations. Education Minister Carl Samuda says a risk assessment of trends in the new COVID-19 cases is being done by health officials to assist in determining whether the proposed phased reopening of schools on September 7 should proceed or be delayed. He says if the cases continue to spike and it is deemed unsafe for students and teachers to physically return to school, the ministry will have to reassess the situation and put contingency plans in place. The minister was speaking on day 3 of the Jamaica Teachers Association's 56th annual conference held yesterday at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James. Mr. Samuda said the ministry would continue to meet with teachers in order to be kept aware of what's happening, adding that he would engage stakeholders before a final decision is made. The assurance comes as the Ministry of Health reported another 46 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday evening, bringing the island's total to 1,192. Based on the last reported numbers, health officials are now monitoring 336 active cases. In other health news, residents of Browns Hall and neighboring communities in St. Catherine now have access to a new health center. Built at a cost of $24 million, the Browns Hall Health Center was officially opened on Wednesday. It represents a partnership between the Ministry of Health and private providers. The land was identified by the ministry, while the NHF did the design and technical work for the project, in addition to providing infrastructure for the building. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says the facility will house 14 full-time staff, including a resident midwife, visiting public health nurse, 6 community health aides, and 2 clinic attendants.
And the services that are going to be provided include maternal and child health, dressing, immunization, and of course, family Planning.
The Solid Waste Management Enterprise team says preparations are at an advanced stage to identify a suitable private investor to undertake a public-private partnership for the design, financing, construction, and operation of an integrated solid waste management system. The statement from the Development Bank of Jamaica DBJ says the work is progressing, notwithstanding the challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the statement, by October 20, government expects to conclude the engagement of the advisory team that will finalize the business case, recommend the key elements of the transaction, and assist the government to conduct the tender process. The DBJ says the business case for the project could be finalized within 32 weeks, and Enterprise Team Chairman Littleton Shirley says he is confident that with the cooperation of all stakeholders involved, the competitive tender process for the transformational project could commence during the 2021-2022 fiscal year. And finally, the Real Estate Board is reminding professionals that August 31 is the deadline to renew their real estate license. Chief Executive Officer of the board, Sandra Garrick, says dealers and salesmen are allowed to pay the annual license fee in 2 installments on April 1 and September 1 in accordance with regulations. The April 1 payment covers the period up to August 31, with the second half due September 1, covering the period up to March 31. Ms. Garrick warns that under Section 10, subsection 1 of the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act, anyone who conducts business without a valid license does so illegally. While the Real Estate Board allows for a 30-day payment period without penalty, practicing with an expired license can result in criminal charges. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.